Thank you for joining Coalition of Schools Educating Mindfully for our first ever all ages, every school mindfulness class. I couldn't think of a title, so that seemed to cover everything, doesn't it? Please introduce yourself and anyone in your family who's joining you, sharing where you are in the world, what state, what country. My name is Tracy Heilers. I'm founder and executive director of COSEM, and we're so happy you can join us. Oh, love seeing all these people from all over. We are on Facebook Live as well and recording our event today. We'll share it in our March newsletter, so subscribe to that if you're not subscribed. We'll have it on YouTube as well that you could Google. But I just wanted to let you know that in case you unmute yourself and share later, that lots of people will see it. So we hope to grow this event every year, hosting it in conjunction with our Educating Mindfully conference. We, as COSEM, in our first 2.5 years, we've mainly been just supporting educators, but we want to grow to supporting whole school communities. And I'll share more about that later. But just whenever we get together and join together around something we really deeply care about, it just helps the world in more ways that we can even know in the moment. So thank you for joining us. Okay, we're going to start with a question. See if you know your Zoom functions. All right, if you love yoga and mindfulness and have found them helpful to your health and well-being, I want you to give a party blast by clicking the reactions section there in Zoom, and let's see who all has already experienced some wonderful benefits of yoga and mindfulness. And if you are new to yoga and mindfulness and are excited to learn more today, do a thumbs up in the for a party, for your reactions, your party blast. Awesome. All right, well, you guys are going to love today and our schedule today. We're going to start with mindfulness practices and then do some yoga. We're going to share about how we're creating mindful spaces in our homes and schools. We're going to get to do some journaling activities and have some music pre-recorded with Jewel. She wanted to be here today with us, but her schedule didn't allow. But I want to start with my friend Lori Grossman. She wrote actually a chapter for our Educating Mindfully book. I got to do my anthology shout out here. So 6 months, the first 6 months of launching.
Hey, Tracy, yeah. People can't see you.
Oh,
you've got your little logo on. There you go.
Yay, thank you. Lori, you got my back. Thank you. Our Educating Mindfully book. I had the video on because I logged in early to the Facebook Live and I didn't want them to see me walking around my office. But yes, this has 40 chapters from educators across the US. The first 10 chapters are all about like the roots of the movement, which Lori Grossman is in those first 10 chapters because she was co-founder of Mindful Schools. And now she is director of social justice and educational equity with Inner Explorer. And so she's the perfect person to start us off today, sharing about why mindfulness practices are so helpful, you know, for people who are new to it. And we hope you can use this recording to share with educators at your school, even with your students at your school, so they can learn even if they're not with us today. All right, Lori, I'm gonna hand it over to you.
Thank you, Tracy. And Tracy has done so much work, pretty much single-handedly, bringing hundreds and hundreds of people together. And I'd like to give her a shout out because she works really hard, late nights, and thank you. This movement is so very important. So you can see I'm from this is Covered, California. I am from Oakland, California. And the great thing about COVID is I don't have to wear my mask in a training. I could take it off. So we got to look for the things that are going right. That's one of them. But as we know, many adults, and you guys are much younger than I am, so I've had my vaccines, but many adults are waiting for many adults are waiting for the vaccines, and that's stressful. The great thing is that you don't have to wait for mindfulness. You can start practicing it today. And mindfulness is going to inoculate you against stress. 90%, oh, lipstick. Thank you, Sheila. This is my COVID hairdo. I get my first haircut in a year this week because I will have had my shots. Yay! So anyway, I just want to say that really practice 90% of doctor visits are because of stress. That was before COVID. We know kids are so stressed out. We see what's going on with them. We see suicide rates rising and self-harm. And this is essential. We have got to take care of our kids' well-being, their happiness, their resilience, their outlook. It's scary. Our country's scary right now. And so practicing mindfulness is going to inoculate you against stress. And you don't have to wait for a vaccine. You can start today. You can do it every day. It's for your health. It's for your well-being. So we're going to start. And the next 2 minutes, we're going to listen to I work with a nonprofit called Inner Explorer. We bring mindfulness into classrooms and homes and have been doing so. This is our 10th year. We're a nonprofit. We serve 1.8 million kids throughout the country and in 5,000 schools. So we're going to go, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to spend the next 2 minutes doing an Inner Explorer practice to bring us here and present to where we are and what we're doing. So just please go along with whatever you hear.
What's going on, everybody? This is Morik. Thank you for joining me today for this practice. I invite you to close your eyes or look downward, listening to the music as you take a few breaths and allowing yourself to settle into this moment.
So if you want to write how you feel in the chat, feel free. Mindfulness is awareness of the present moment without judgment. That's all it is, awareness. And there are many sense stores. The breath is one, sound is another. So what we just did by listening was we got out of our heads and we listened and we were here in the present moment. There was a teacher once when we did mindful schools, we had classes, we quickly realized that we needed to train teachers in mindfulness. And so we started at Park Day School running classes for teachers. And between week 1 and week 2, a teacher said, I've worked at my school for 10 years. I walk from my office to the classroom at least 10 times a day. Do you know we have birds on our campus? She never realized there were trees or there were birds because she's worried about parents and grading papers and the copy machine. And so mindfulness, the whole idea of mindfulness is to get you into the present moment. And that was a transition practice that was sound. So when we pay attention, when I was a kid, we were said, pay attention. We were taught to pay attention. I didn't know how to do that. Mindfulness teaches us to pay attention by asking us to listen again and again, by asking us to focus on our breath again and again, or focus on our body again and again. We're actually teaching kids to pay attention, which in my opinion is the most important tool in school. If you have kids that can't pay attention, and we know with cell phones and everything else that's going on, it's really, really hard to pay attention. So people that practice with Inner Explorer every day, their grades and test scores go up 9 to 28%. Those are randomized control studies because kids learn to pay attention. So that one of the second benefits, there's so many benefits of mindfulness. One of the second benefits is stress reduction. There have been 40,000 studies about this. And with kids, there are over 7,000 published studies. Our studies show, randomized control studies with our program show that teachers get a 43% reduction in stress when they do this every day. And what is that? And you may know this, but in case you don't, I'm going to do a quick brain science lesson. So when we practice mindfulness, what happens is we're integrating 3 parts of our brain. So if this is the model, this is the brain stem coming in from our spine. This is the limbic system, our hippocampus and our memory. And this is the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex is behind your forehead. This is executive function. When we're aware that we're aware, when we're aware that we're aware that we're listening, we're aware that we're aware that we're breathing, we connect the neurons, 100 billion of them. And what that is the optimal level of cognitive, physical, and emotional activation. So what fires together, wires together. Our brains don't know the difference between losing our keys and finding out that our mother died of COVID. I'm going to say that again. Brain doesn't know the difference between losing your keys and the most horrible thing that could happen in your life. Adrenaline and cortisol are stress hormones. That's why we all end up at the doctor for stress, and it wrecks our digestive system, gives us headaches, gives us, muscular pain. So we can do something about that. We can't affect the stress. The stress comes at us, and it's what we do with the stress. So when we practice mindfulness and integrate the brain, we're doing ourselves a huge favor. In fact, we even change the structure of our brain. Your amygdala, your fight and flight, gets smaller, your prefrontal gets bigger. They show this in MRIs with people that take MBSR, mindfulness-based stress reduction. In 8 weeks, you have a smaller amygdala and a bigger prefrontal cortex, which is amazing. So when you think of the kids that have trauma in our classrooms, we can help them because we actually help them change their brains. So let's see. I have to do this very quickly. So it's like brushing your teeth to keep away cavities. Practicing mindfulness every day keeps away stress. The other thing it does is we make better decisions. And how do we do that? So we have an emotion and a reaction. I live in Oakland, in East Oakland, there's a lot of shooting. You disrespected me, you're gone. No thought about what this is going to do to my family. Take kids in a classroom, knocking over somebody's crayons and then getting mad at the kid and maybe hitting them instead of going, oh, I just picked up the crayons. Will you help me pick up the crayons? So what we do by slowing down is we notice what our emotions are. So we feel them and then we respond instead of react. So we're separating our emotion from the reaction. That's why we get a 60% reduction in behavioral incidents every time. It doesn't matter what school. This is like stunning, and it happens all the time because kids understand how they feel, and then they can understand how their friends feel. The slowing down. So what happens? Teachers yell less, and kids don't get in as much trouble. So I want to talk about the Greater Good Science Center in Berkeley, California. They have identified 6 pillars of happiness, and LG Electronics is our biggest funder. And what we're doing is we're promoting these 6 pillars of happiness. Mindfulness promotes all of them. It's the first one. But here's some quotes from some of the others. Human connection. When the adults in my house were fighting, I taught them the shark fin, and then they stopped fighting and they liked it. That was an elementary school student. This is the shark fin, you guys, and we're told again and again and again how effective this is. You put your hand here, everybody, you can do that. And you take it down your face and you go, shh, and you shut your eyes as you take your hand down. And what that does is it reminds us of 5 S's: sit still, sit straight, sit silently, shut eyes, and soft breathing. So you just do this. So I'll walk into a classroom and I'll see some kid and the teacher's teaching math and I'll see some kid go, shh, and that's a reminder to come back. I'll see kids about to take a penalty kick on a soccer field. I'll see them go, shh, or even playing baseball. I've seen kids do this. Shh. It's like focus. It means focus. It's a reminder. It's so easy for our minds to go elsewhere, right? So this is a great reminder. And the kid taught their parents a shark fin and then they felt better. Let me just check my time here. Okay, good. So purpose, positive outlook. Inner Explorer makes me feel calm and peaceful. I love it because it makes your bad thoughts pass. If you have bad thoughts, it helps you get that bad things out of your head. Generosity is another one, and gratitude's another one. I'm going to take just a few minutes here to play another practice for you, an Inner Explorer practice on gratitude. Gratitude is essential. Oopsie, sorry. It's absolutely essential. So in our health and well-being. So I'm going to share my screen again, and I'm going to put on another practice. This time, this is the founder of Inner Explorer. I may not do the whole practice just to save time.
Closing your eyes as you breathe in and out. Recognizing that we often take things for granted, like the fact that most of us can speak and be heard, and that we can understand when someone else is speaking to us. We'll focus today on verbs. Be grateful for words that describe things we're able to do. Perhaps telling jokes. Or cooking. As you keep breathing, considering other things that you're able to do. Like seeing. Reading. Walking. Laughing and dancing. For the next minute, think of as many things as you can that you're grateful for that end in ing.
In the interest of time, I'm going to stop doing this, but please put in the chat something you're grateful for that ends in ing. And I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to talk because I only have about another minute or two. And I want to talk about Inner Explorer because it's really profound, this program. There's no prep. All you do is push a button. So there are daily practices that are 5 minutes for preschool, 10 minutes for elementary, middle, and high. The elementary, middle, and high have a 2-minute period for journaling. So that there's 8-minute practice and then 2 minutes on reflection. We all know how important reflection is, right? So they're also in Spanish. High school's not in Spanish, but everything else is in Spanish. So there we get, as I mentioned, a 9 to 28% bump in grades, 60% reduction in disciplinary incidents, 43% reduction in stress. It's available for home use. When the pandemic started and everybody started needing to teach at home, we realigned our program so that teachers could use it with their kids at home. And now families have access to it as well. So if you do that 10 minutes a day, that's how we get those scores. And when teachers, if a teacher goes and grades papers instead of practicing with the kids, they're not going to get the benefits that everybody else does. So it's really important to practice with your kids. I have a teacher that sent me a video of her. She said, I've been teaching high school English for 16 years. I have a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old at home. My husband's a prison guard. We were so panicked that he was going to bring us home COVID. And I had to teach my class with my 1 and 4-year-old. She said every day, she said, I would not have made it through March, April, May, or June without Inner Explorer. Because the second I put my kids down for a nap and I wasn't teaching, I listened to the practice. She didn't even practice with her kid. She used it for herself. So practicing mindfulness every day, like we are waiting for these COVID vaccines, right? Don't wait. Start practicing mindfulness today. You brush your teeth every day, make the time. Teachers gain time. They gain in elementary schools, teachers gain 10 minutes a day or an hour a week in teaching time because they're not redirecting and kids can focus more easily. The first thing I should have said to you all is thank you for being teachers. Thank you for being counselors. Thank you for being parents. You guys are the heroes. Our kids need us desperately, and we all desperately need mindfulness. So I wish you well. I wish you quick COVID vaccines, and I wish you a great rest of the day. Thank you, Tracy, for everything.
Thank you, Lori. Yay,
And
Lori.
if you have any questions, I'm going to put my my email in here. I'll also put the organization. There's a book also, if you fill out your evaluations, we did this book, Master Mindfulness, How to Be Your Own Superhero in Times of Stress. The kids just wrote this in East Oakland, California, are going to college next year, and they're getting money. 50,000 books have sold, and we have $22,000 of scholarship for those kids. So Inner Explorer, and we're giving away some copies of it. So innerexplorer.org, and I'll put the Master of Mindfulness.
And,
Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.
and Inner Explorer, I just muted you there. And Inner Explorer is giving away a free license for a school. So I'll be randomly selecting those winners tomorrow, and we'll let the winners know next week. But next up we have Ross Robinson. He's from Holistic Life Foundation. He's their manager of training, program implementation, and quality. And Holistic Life Foundation has provided yoga and mindfulness education for underserved residents in the Baltimore community and beyond since 2001. So Ross is a health coach and is certified in trauma-informed yoga. And he's going to lead us in about 15 minutes of yoga. No worries if you go a little long, Ross, because we also want you to share about Holistic Life Foundation as well. And then at the end, maybe be ready to share your favorite yoga pose for everybody. And I can pin some on the screens. Go ahead, Ross.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Thank you for having me first and foremost. Just to get into it, just a little bit who I am. Well, you did a great introduction of who I am. So I was just speaking on the organization. We are Holistic Life Foundation is a nonprofit organization that was founded out of Baltimore, Maryland. We have 3 founders, Atman, Ali, and Andy. They were like college friends. How they got started, like Ali and Atman, they grew up in West Baltimore, and even though it might not have been like the safest place, there was that sense of like community. You know, if it was like violence about to occur, they would tell, you know, the older people would tell them like, hey, you know, y'all got to go inside. Like, things are about to take place, or, hey, like, why are you hanging out in the neighborhood during school hours? So, you know, you guys need to be going to school. And when they came back to the community after graduating college, they realized that sense of community was gone. Like, if you're familiar with Baltimore, like we have like row homes, and it could be like 30 houses like on a block, in each block. And now you go to these neighborhoods, like you look at the conditions, it's similar to like a third world country. It's like might be 5 people living in the houses. The other houses are like boarded up, falling down. It looks like the best way to like describe it. My father is in the military. He came back to that area of Baltimore, and he was like, and he's in the military. He looked like it looked like it's been bombed. He's like, I don't even recognize this place. Like, I cannot believe like a place looks like this in America. But you know, the guys started that organization about 20 years ago when yoga and mindfulness was not popular, especially in the inner city of Baltimore. You know, they came in, were like, we're going to teach you yoga. We thought that he was going to give us free yogurt because I'm like one of the first students. So we were like, yogurt, yay, yoga. And they're like, no, yoga. But just interesting facts that like all of us graduated high school on time, coming up through the program. None of us are incarcerated and just coming back. And we were like a wild bunch of students. So just coming from our backgrounds and what we go through, yoga's really helped. So if you just want to find more information about like that, I'll put it in the chat box, but I want to give you the practice. That's the joy, because the thing, like our teachers always taught us like, hey, we're going to teach you. But the same way our teacher taught us that I'm going to teach you guys these practices, like you have to go out and teach these practices. Like, so we're teaching you to become teachers, because we're not always going to be able to lead you through these practices. And first and foremost, you're going to have to self-regulate. That first speaker did a great job on explaining like the reasons why, but like you're going to have that tool, and then you want to be able to show your family members and when you go home, because we only have you for a couple hours each day. So so we could go ahead and get started with the practice. We're going to start off just with some diaphragm breathing, or what we call belly breathing. We always start our class off like that, just getting ourselves grounded. So we're going to do that. So you can sit up with your head, neck, back in the line, feet planted firmly on the floor. We're going to want to breathe in and out through our nose. 3 reasons why. Our nose acts as a filter. We have nose hair, catches all the germs, bacteria, any dust, any dander. We know that's really important right now with COVID going on. We want to try to filter it out, and hopefully we're still wearing our masks. Next, our nose acts as a heater. We have something in our nose called a mucous membrane, heats up the air. And last but not least, our nose acts as a humidifier. And like we get our kids, we ask them the question because it could be hard for people to get like the metaphor, like fill your stomach up with air. So we say, imagine that your stomach is that balloon. And we ask the kids, like, what happens when you put air in a balloon? And they'll say, it goes, or they say it pops. That's what they say, like, oh, okay. And before it pops, that balloon gets bigger. And what happens when you take air out? And they're like, but before that, it gets smaller. So our stomachs are going to do the same thing. So along with our eyes being closed, head, neck, back in the line, I'll just ask that everybody just put your hand on your belly, or I invite you, your choice, just as a reminder. And we're going to inhale nice and deep through the nose. Imagine filling your belly up with air like a balloon. And exhale that breath out. Imagine pulling the belly button gently to the spine. We're going to inhale nice and deep once again. Filling the belly up with air like a balloon. And exhale that breath out. Pulling your belly button gently to the spine. Inhale nice and deep once again. Fill the belly up with air like a balloon. Exhaling that breath out, pushing all that stale carbon dioxide out of your body. Inhale nice and deep once again. And exhale that breath out. Now we're going to take 2 more belly breaths together. We're going to try to hold on to the breath, but if you feel any discomfort or it's hard for you to hold your breath, you can slowly exhale out at your pace. So totally up to you. We're going to inhale nice and deep, filling our belly up nice and big. Hold the breath for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and exhale nice and gently, pulling the belly button to the spine. Last one. We're going to inhale nice and deep, filling the belly up with air like a balloon, and holding for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and exhale nice and gently. And before opening up your eyes, I just invite everyone to take 3 deep breaths, to do an internal assessment at your own pace, just to see how your mind and your body are feeling. Right. So belly breathing, so important. Like biggest takeaway. I mean, we're gonna do some movements today and get moving, but just want you guys to remember that like your breath. I know we hear it all the time, but it's just a great way to remind yourself of just relax, calm down. You know, I like to say like the world or like is like the ocean. Our mind and our bodies are the boat. And we know naturally there's always going to be a storm that's going to come past and it's going to rock your boat. It's natural in the world and nature for storms to come. But if you don't have something to anchor that boat down during the storm, you know, that boat would drift out in the middle of the ocean. It might just go somewhere. But if you have something to anchor you down, which I like to say using your breath, because your breath is always with you and it empowers you to have power over that breath, to anchor you down, take that deep breath, that will harbor that boat down, which is our mind and our body. So we're not always able to have access to music, and we might not be able to bust out the tree pose in the middle of the class, just getting up to calm ourselves down and keep us balanced. But you always have that breath to, hey, even in the classroom, people won't notice what you're doing, taking that deep breath. All right. So we're all going to stand up. I feel like, you know, we've been sitting at these computers. It's time to get up, do a little bit of movement. I know everybody might not have the most space. So this is an exercise called the half sunrise. The full sunrise, something we usually do on the mats. It's 12 movements. And we usually do it for like 12 times. And we just do it 12 times. We call it sun signs, but each month of the year. All right. But we're going to do half of that. And this is good to do in classrooms when you might not have space. I know one thing, teachers do not like moving all the desks around. They have the desks and the chairs set up a certain way. And they're like, don't be, you're not going to do that. And, you know, might not even have the time. So this is a good thing you could do standing behind your desk. So we're going to sit up in mountain pose, which is just nice and strong. And we're all going to inhale nice and deep. And exhale to the ready pose. All right, we're going to inhale backward bend. And exhale to a forward fold, just trying to touch your toes. If you cannot touch your toes, just let your arms hang and just listen to your body. We're going to inhale up. You're going to touch your knees, straighten and lengthen the spine, and try to keep your focal point, just your eyesight looking forward ahead of you. And exhale back down to forward fold, letting your arms hang. Inhaling to the backward bend. And exhale, ready pose. All right, we'll do 4 more together. So we're going to inhale backward bend. Exhale, forward bend. Remember to use the breath. Your breath complements your stretch. Inhale up, touching your knees, strengthening and lengthening the spine. And exhale forward. Inhale, backward bend. And exhale, ready pose. Inhale, backward bend. Exhale, forward bend. Inhale up, touch the knees, straighten out the back, lengthening the spine. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, backward bend. And exhale, ready pose. 2 more, y'all. Y'all doing a great job. Proud of everybody. Inhale, backward bend. Exhale, forward bend. Inhale up, touch your knees, strengthen and lengthen the spine, looking forward. Exhale down, forward fold. Inhale, backward bend. And exhale, ready pose. All right, so on this last one, I'm gonna go really, really slow and I wanna see who can keep up, okay? So we're gonna inhale and backward bend. Exhale and forward bend. Inhale up, touch your knees, straighten out your back, looking forward. Exhale down, touch your toes. Inhale backward bend, exhale, ready pose. That's what we just do with the kids because they can start to go crazy. Always gets them excited. So always try to make it fun and just make it practical to, you know, who you're working with. But that sunrise, I'm pretty sure that sunrise is so good for building up that energy. And, you know, I know being a teacher, sometimes you deal with like two types of energy when your students come in. You have that student that comes in and they plop their head down on their desk, or, you know, in this virtual life, they're just sitting there looking at the computer. I've even seen some of my students still in the bed like this, you know, and I'm like, how are we going to do yoga in the bed? Like, but, you know, so you're dealing with that energy. But then even being back in person, if you can remember, if your school is not live, you have the student or the student on virtual is like, good morning. How you doing, Mr. Ross? Like, how's it going? And you're like, whoa, I didn't even get my coffee yet. I didn't have time. Like, calm it down. Like, whoof, take it down a notch. But that exercise is good for getting that energy out that students are holding in because we're telling them to sit, look, do this, do that. It's commands. And it's the same thing for that student that just like, I'm not feeling it today. So it works with both energies in the room. So it is like definitely a great practice like to do in the morning. It's called sunrise for a reason. Typically you do it at sunrise, but a lot of people might not be up at sunrise. All right. But it's good for boosting that energy up, giving your body a full body stretch as you feel and get the blood flowing, getting that proper oxygen throughout your system. So I want to do breathing exercise. Like it's our go-to breathing exercise with our students. If you might know about Holistic Life Foundation, but like we have our program that we're probably most famous for, Mindful Moment, where students can come in for 15 to 20 minutes, self-referred or referred by their teacher or administration. And it's an alternative to like suspension. So they'll come in, we are trained to listen, kind of be that big brother, big sister, and listen to what's going on. A lot of times they just want to be heard. So we just listen, we don't talk over top of them. And then we give them a practice or share a practice. We just provide it. We don't give anything, like they have the power over themselves. So just sharing a tool with them to put in their toolbox. And this is like our go-to exercise, and it's called the stress breath. So a thing with this, we want to make our breath audible. A good way to do that is like fogging up a mirror. So you would take your hand and go like, I make a little joke with some of my students if they're not funny. I'm like, all right, now it got hot in here, you know, it's some hot breath. So then they all start like laughing and chuckling because you got to throw jokes in there to keep them in there. So now I'll say like, everybody, now you can close your mouth and do that same motion like you're fogging up that mirror. So that's keeping the breath audible. And you want to make that sound. They also say that's the Darth Vader breath. So we like let our students name a lot of these practices. So I don't even know how they know who Darth Vader is because I haven't even seen them breathing like that. And it's before my time, but we all know YouTube is a great resource. So I invite everyone to sit up, head, neck back in a line. Feet planted firmly on the floor, remembering to make the breath audible. If you like, you can keep your eyes open to see what I'm doing, or you can just follow my directions, totally your choice. We're going to inhale nice and deep, making the breath audible. Hold the breath, bring your chin to your chest, still holding on to the breath. And exhale. And as you're exhaling, you're lifting your head up in unison. Right? Inhale nice and deep. Hold your breath, chin to your chest. And exhale that breath out. Inhale nice and deep. Lock your chin to your chest. And exhale that breath out. I'm looking at the time. I know time gets away. We'll do 2 more and we'll wrap it up. Inhale nice and deep. Lock your chin to your chest. And exhale. Last one. Inhale nice and deep. Lock your chin to your chest, hold on to the breath. We're going to sit there and hold it. And I want you to use your imagination and just see and feel that breath taking its course throughout your body, healing all your vital organs, to replenishing your body. And just exhaling, nice and slow, releasing any stress, any tension. And I invite you to take those 3 deep breaths to see how your mind and your body are feeling. Righty. So just benefits. It's good for stress. It's good for redirecting that focus. And it's also good for relieving migraine headaches. Like if you have really bad headaches and high volume anger, we're making that breath audible. It stimulates your vagus nerve. You can carry out those signals throughout your body when it's that disconnect. And I appreciate you guys. Just if you want more information, I'll type it in the chat box. And we also have like an online platform with these practices, which is in like the digital resource fair. So you can check it out. But I'll put it in the chat box. Thank you guys so much.
It's called Bridging Academics and the Mind, right? And
Yes,
can you just tell a little bit about it? We actually have time. I want to say why we have a little time. Kara Feeney, the school psychologist that was going to join us today to share about how to design and use mindfulness spaces in your school and home. She actually is having some symptoms from her COVID vaccination. So I told her just rest at home, not worry about it. We have a jam-packed schedule anyway, but yeah, I'd love for you to share a little bit about bridging academics and the mind, and maybe share your favorite yoga pose. And if you have any suggestions and I'm going to open this to everybody after Ross shares, because I know we have an SEL coach here and other teachers. You might have some suggestions that everybody can share of using mindfulness spaces and how you're using them in your school.
Awesome. So bridging academics through mindfulness, or like we like to call it, BAM, is an online platform that has like we have Johns Hopkins have came in, have did like a study, or is like the first randomized study on how mindfulness affects kids, urban youth. So they did a study. So like our practices are evidence-based, but it's the same practices that we're going on through here. It has like our founders on there. It's pretty cool because like some of like the modules have them like in cartoon form. Like the guys are real big on cartoons and connecting that with students. So they're online and they lead practices because they use that same model of teach to make a teacher. So it's like the first setup is like you going through the practices with them, they're leading you through it. But then after a while, they're encouraged, like the students or the teachers, to like, hey, now you take it over and see if you can lead it. And they still have like support through there. But the program, like it just gets you in the habit of like making yourself that teacher and building those habits. And it's daily modules that you can do. And it's just great practices. I want to say it's like over 12 practices. It also has it set up for certain situations of how to put like certain movements and breaths together for just anything that you might be encountering in a classroom. But I tapped it in here. It's bandprogram.com, and you can get it for 14 days free. And then after that, it is like $10 a month for individual.
Awesome. And what's your favorite yoga pose?
My favorite yoga pose, I would say, I like doing, it's a series of exercise. So it's something called like the 5 rights, and it used to be like the coolest thing. And like my founders, like the organization, they got us in because they were like, they would tell this really like cool story of like how it's the fountain of youth, and and they would be like, it was an old man knocking at the door. Well, the guy met, it was an old man. He looked like a grandpa, hunched over, and he met this young guy in the park. And he was like, hey, you want me to show you the fountain of youth? And the young guy was like, yeah, I want to know the fountain of youth. And he was like, all right, well, I can show you better than I can tell you. So then, the guy goes home, didn't hear anything back. And next thing you know, we put in sound effects. They're like, And the guy's like, do you recognize me? And then the guys at the door is like, nah, who answered the door, like, no, I don't recognize you. And, you know, it was the grandpa, but like he looked way younger. And like now we just say like the story kept going on and the grandpa ended up like being a baby on the steps and the guys tell it like in a funny way. And all the kids like start laughing. It was like, this is baby on the steps. And I'm like, whose baby is this? But they just say like it's the fountain of youth. And then they tie it into like superheroes. So it's a series of 5 exercises. It is very intense. You want to work your way up to doing 21 of them. They have pretty good descriptions of it on YouTube or in our band program platform. But you can see those practices and it definitely just keeps you in shape. Like I practice it every day, kicks my butt. And especially my significant other's like, no, I don't want you going to the gym. And I love the gym. So I like just keeping myself in shape. But 5 rights definitely suggested. It gives your body everything you need.
Thank you. I know when my teacher was teaching it to us in class, he said the 5 Tibetan rites. And I went home and Googled 5 Tibetan rice. I thought he said rice. I was like, what is this? But like one of the moves is like downward dog, upward dog, and you go back and forth. And like, yeah, it's that's
do like 21 spins, like realigns your chakras, like, oh, you get a core workout. It literally works out everything in your body. It's like we call like the spins, then you have like your leg lifts, then it's like a forward bend, backward bend, and then it's an exercise called the table, and then like you were saying, like upward dog, down dog.
Yes. So yeah, we have a few more minutes before we're going to do a journaling activity, but I'm just going to share about the mindfulness space that I have in our home, and then maybe somebody else would like to share about a mindfulness space they have in their home and school. So we have a little bonus area above our garage that is my little yoga room. But it tends to not have people going to it. Like, so I ended up moving a yoga mat down to, it's basically in the living room, right inside the front door. Like, it would seem like the worst spot to ever happen. You walk in the front door and you see the yoga mat, but being right next to the living room couch, and we walk by it all the time. And I put all just like fun self-care stuff. Like I got like little pillows with like acupressure. It's like, I just get all these little fun things. And my 3 boys who are now middle school and high school, who want nothing to do with yoga, like, you know, I'll just find them over there, you know, bending on the Swiss ball or doing a little foot massage or something like that. And I tend to do yoga and meditate more now that I've just brought it right there, smack in the middle of everything. But does anybody else want to share an experience they've had, that what they've learned from their mindfulness spaces, and share your favorite yoga pose? Lindsay, what's your favorite yoga pose? Putting you on the spot.
Well, and I was mentioning like in the breakout room earlier today, this is my home, and I'm grateful for my husband, you know, since COVID, because he let me take over this space. I mean, this is our I believe our family room, but we have our living room, but our family room area. And I agree, Tracy, like it's here and I see it all the time. Like our kitchen's right by it. And so I see it, and it's always like a reminder, whether I do a practice at that time or it reminds me to take a breath. So no matter where you are, just having something, and it doesn't even have to be a yoga mat. It could be just something that, you know, resonates with you, or a quote that you put somewhere, whether it's in your home, in your classroom, you know, as a climate and SEL coach and for well-being, it's such a wonderful opportunity to create, you know, it doesn't even have to necessarily be a space. We have that space inside us too. And we can do that anytime, anywhere. And Ross, I really loved all these things that you shared with us today. And honestly, for my favorite pose, I really have an appreciation for tree because of balance and just the symbolism behind a tree and the roots. And no matter what the storm is, that's the deeper the roots that they go. And it's just at any time, anywhere you can check in, like, where am I at with my own balance? If I'm off balance right now, just with tree, I know I'm off balance outside and inside. So I need to make sure that I pause and stop.
Thank you. Thanks, Lindsay. We have time for maybe one more person to share.
I want to share. It's not really a space, but what I have is a treasure box. This isn't it, but I'm just showing you an idea. And I call it my personal sanctuary box. And it has all these things that make me happy. So when I'm feeling down, I can just take it out. So it has some old love letters. It has this that I got for being a sponsor of a lady from Africa. I has this that one of my dear friends made for me. She's an artist. It has my little board here for incense. It has my favorite peace candle. It has lavender oil, which I love, and a bunch of other stuff. So I'm just recommending that you do that. It's just so comforting to know it's there when I'm having a bad day. And with COVID, I'm having a lot of bad days.
Thank you, Barbara. I love that mandala pillow you have too, that you.
Oh yeah, I know, that's so great. And you can order it in any size. So I think the smallest one is maybe like 16 inches by 16 inches, all the way up to 30 inches by 30 inches, if you really have a big space. But this is, I'm also making myself an altar, a little area, but I'm trying to find a corner. And this is going to be my meditation cushion. And that's as big as I could do. And that's 20 by 20. And it's perfect for my butt.
Awesome. Maybe you can share that link in the chat.
Yeah, well, I put my email in there. I'll do it again. And people can write to me if, and I'll share my favorite artist.
And I want to thank Barbara for donating you've got a self-compassion course coming up that you've created. She's a board member. She wrote a daily dose of mindful moments. So she's donating some of those too. But Lindsay and Barbara are both board members with us. So thank you for being here. We have a few other board members as well. I want to next move to a journaling activity, and we're going to have, I think Shannon Cox is here and Amanda Dieter are both here. And I'll have you can introduce yourself. They're new friends of mine I've met through Jewel. And after we do a journaling activity, they'll share some of how that SEL curriculum that they designed with Jewel, how it came to be, and tell us about that. Go ahead.
Thanks, Tracy. Actually, I think we're going to do it just exactly the opposite, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I am Shannon Cox. I'm the superintendent here in Ohio with our Montgomery County Educational Service Center. And I will let my colleague introduce herself, Amanda Dieter.
Hi guys, my name is Amanda Dieter. I am a social emotional specialist at the Montgomery County ESC. We have a social emotional learning division, and we are kind of an eclectic group with diverse backgrounds, but my background is I have been a child and adolescent therapist for the last 15 years. So before we get started, we don't do anything in this curriculum without doing some mindfulness first. So I'm just going to invite you guys, you can close your eyes if you feel comfortable, and if you don't, just pick a focal point. We're just going to count up to 10 and back down to 1, just taking a breath on each number, either in or out. We'll just go at our own pace with that. And as we're coming back, I just will invite you guys back to this space. You can open your eyes. And Shannon.
Thanks. So quick version about our story, and then I'll give you, how we connected with Jewel, which has really been a blessing in our lives. Our ESC is a service center in Ohio, and we provide instructional services, special education services, a variety of other services. We did not have the social emotional learning division that Amanda was referring to when we first started creating what we now call SELLA. We did not get very creative with the name. It is literally the Social Emotional Learning Language Arts Curriculum. But the reason that we started down this path before we met Jewel was because of the acute behaviors that we were seeing the children that we were servicing coming to us with at such younger and younger ages. We also here in Dayton, Ohio, we're at the epicenter of the opioid epidemic. And we knew that we were seeing foster care numbers rise. We were seeing funerals of parents happen at a rate that we have never experienced before. And again, just those aggressive and very acute behaviors. And so as we tried to put interventions in place to take care of the symptoms of what we were seeing, it was really a mission of mine to make certain that our ESC was going to try to find what was at the root of all of this and why it was happening to families. How can we help families in a preventative manner? And so as we pulled back the layers of one traumatic event after another here in our area, we just really came to the core competency that we had missing social emotional competencies in our children. And we could have spent a lot of time sitting there trying to blame or place accountability. The parents didn't do this, or the social structure didn't do that, or that community didn't provide. We just didn't have time for that. We knew we needed to do something, because at the end of the day, the kids were still coming through our schoolhouse doors. So we went to the quest of finding a social emotional competency curriculum, if you will. And what we found was a lot of explicit. So we knew that there were a lot of programs out there that taught the 5 core competencies of social emotional learning, and we'll get to that in just a second. But what I knew, true to my training as a former principal, former teacher, is I was going to have to find a way to explain, why are we teaching that in school, and who's going to teach it, and when am I going to teach it? And I knew my teachers were going to say, I'm not a counselor. Amanda is a counselor. She is a clinical counselor that can do this kind of thing. I am not. I am a social studies teacher. I am a language arts teacher. And so for those of you who heard Jewel's story yesterday, we were able to meet Jewel through a mutual friend. And we started talking about our vision of having this curriculum be put into public schools, charter schools, home schools, any kind of schools throughout the world. Whoever needed it could access it. And of course, that aligned right with her vision of her mindfulness practices. So we started creating the curriculum, and we actually started in the 6th grade. We worked our way down into kindergarten. And there's a lot of questions sometimes that come to us about, are you going to go up the ladder of grade levels? And the answer is maybe, but not quite yet, because we know that as good educational practices as our teachers had for language arts, coupled with the SEL skills, we knew that if we could get those skills to the youngest learners, to the youngest scholars, that we might be able to disrupt the trajectory that they possibly were on. Also in the Dayton area, in addition to just an economic crisis recovery in 2008, and then of course the opioid epidemic, in our particular county, we, over the last couple of years, pre-COVID, we had seen hate crimes on the rise. We had suffered a mass shooting, and we had 15 tornadoes rip through our community on Memorial Day of 2019. So we have just seen one tragedy and trauma after another, again, all pre-COVID. So we also know that if it was important then, it's going to be super important post-COVID or even during COVID. So, Amanda, if you want to go ahead and go to the next slide. We depended on the CASEL competencies. We know that CASEL is the vetting agency for all things social emotional learning, but like we do a lot of things in our ESC, we took it one step further. We took those self-management, self-awareness, responsible decision-making, relationship skills, and social awareness. We took those and we embedded them into the curriculum. But we found that it's really important for kids to have a future self vision. I had a very humbling experience to be able to do a TED Talk on future self vision. And when we talk about that, it's going beyond the question of what do you want to be when you grow up. That was good enough back in the day. At this point, we really need children to kind of encapsulate and really feel with all of their senses, what do you want your life to look like? What do you want your life to feel like and sound like? What house do you envision yourself living in? Who is your family? What do you want the smell of your house to be when you come home from work? What career field are you interested in? And then helping get the kids there to that point where they can actually use the self-management and self-awareness. Because a lot of folks will tell you these, and we agree with it, the research shows that these social emotional competencies really are the essence of employability skills or 21st century skills. So starting at that youngest age and giving them the experiences and the opportunities to really navigate and learn and have those opportunities to really embrace those 5 competencies is great, but we have to be able to give even our 5-year-olds a future self vision. And then that's on us as adults to make sure that we get them there. So Amanda's going to take you through what's embedded in the curriculum, and then we are going to do a journaling exercise that I think you're going to really love, and it will focus around future self. So thanks again for having us.
All right, thanks, Shannon. In our curriculum, we have taken these competencies, these SEL competencies, and we have woven them into an ELA writing supplemental curriculum. What is really fun about this curriculum is that the student is the topic. So we can engage all learners in talking about themselves and in diving deeper into that material. And at the same time, we're building skill, right? Because if our students are engaged in work, we're building those skills. Obviously, it all aligns with CASEL, like Jess. That's who I present with a lot, like Shannon said. And it meets all of the Common Core writing standards and a lot of the other ELA standards. So we created each module based off of those CASEL competencies and our future self. And it's about 20 days of instruction per module based off of a 30-minute lesson. So we've got supplemental reading activities, but we have woven project-based learning into every module. And if you've seen Edutopia's most recent article they sent out, studies are finding that project-based learning is one of the most equitable teaching approaches that you can have and you can use in your classroom. So there's obviously writing assignments. We do informational articles because we know that nonfiction is hard for teachers to hit often. So we tried to hit that in every module. We're doing poetry, we're doing journal reflections, and we're starting each session off with mindfulness. So every time we're going to engage in work, we're going to practice a mindfulness exercise, just like we did before we got started today. What we found through word of mouth, though, is that our students are taking those mindfulness exercises, and they're doing that when they get to science class. We're doing square breathing, and the science teacher's like, what's going on? They're taking this to the soccer field. They're taking this home and teaching their siblings. So it's been really exciting to see how impactful it is for the students and how they then take that forward and they apply that elsewhere. So this is kind of what the curriculum looks like online. Here's the setup. We've got our standards, our lesson, your materials, and your instructional procedures, but we do introductory days. And our introductory days are about setting our norms and expectations. So we're going to practice the skills that we're going to be seeking. We've given the teachers some pretty explicit materials if they don't feel comfortable talking about social emotional learning or what we're going to do. We've even written them a script, but then we do role plays with the kids as well about what kind of communication are we looking for in class and what are our expectations for you guys. And then this has been one of the, I feel like this is kind of our happy accident. We created this connect note so that if anything got stirred up for a kid, they would have an outlet, right? They'd have a venue, a way to get help when they need it. But what we've found is these connect notes are not just good for that. Teachers are getting to know their students on deeper levels. Our veteran teachers who thought they were excellent at building relationships and knowing students, they're like, I had no idea. This has taken me to the next level. And so students are taking this little blank box over here and they're saying, I just want you to know I didn't get to see my mom before I came to school today. Well, then that teacher knows that they're going to need a little bit more nurturing that day. Or, you know, I get to go to a sleepover this weekend and I'm so excited. So it's even giving a place for students to share those little pieces of information that sometimes take us down rabbit holes in the classroom. And, you know, one kid shares and I'm going to go to a sleepover. I'm sleeping at my grandparents. My grandparents have a dog, and you're pulling kids by their ankles out of the rabbit holes, just trying to get back to your lesson. So we found that this has been a really great tool for even those little pieces. So this is a page from our 4th grade journal. And we do a lot of quotes and reflection. So I'm going to invite you guys into this journaling activity with us today. And then I'd like to hear from a few of you. I'm going to give you guys about 5 minutes to write. But our quote is, there are no extra pieces in the universe. Everyone is here because he or she has a place to fill. And every piece must fit itself into the big jigsaw puzzle. So what we'd like for you guys to reflect on is, describe the piece of the puzzle that you fill in the universe. In what ways do you contribute to your family, your friends, or your school? And then you can even draw a representation if that's, if you are creative in that way. So I'm going to give you guys about 5 minutes to just reflect on that. And then if I could have 2 or 3 volunteers who'd be willing to share.
I'll share quickly what my puzzle piece is. I kind of wanted to find a puzzle piece in the world that I could be doing different things every day in the world, and just kind of express my creativity each day in a different way. So sometimes my puzzle piece is teaching yoga to my neighbors, and sometimes it's creativity through writing with like newsletters for the educators of COSEM. And, you know, sometimes it's planning fun events and just trying to design them with creative ways. So like this event, it was an expression of my creativity. And thank you. This is wonderful sharing about SELLA and learning more. I had no idea. I love learning new things that I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to share this with everybody. So I was so happy when you were able to make it today.
Yeah, well, we're very appreciative for you having us today. We really appreciate meeting you all.
Thank you. You know, I wanted to end with a recline relaxation, or we can just do it sitting. And I'm going to play a song by Jewel. It was at an event from last weekend, and it's called The Wellness Experience. And she's a co-founder of it. Kroger is the sponsor. I'm just learning about it, so I'm going to share it with you, and then you could watch the whole thing if you wanted.
And Tracy, there's one for educators in April, so you'll have to push that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So get comfy, whether you can, you know, relax on a couch nearby you, and you really don't need to see it, but if you are sitting and want to relax and listening to it, kind of like a mindful listening, this is a lullaby from Jewel.
Hey guys, it's Jewel, and I thought I might give you a few stats on meditation because sometimes statistics help us be motivated. So I thought you would find this really interesting. I did. People who meditate are 51% less likely to develop heart disease, 65% less likely to have high cholesterol, 76% less likely to have a stroke, and finally, 86% less likely to have high blood pressure. So as we've established, your body's listening to your thoughts. Your life is listening to your thoughts, but your body's really listening to your thoughts. With just deep breathing, you can dilate your whole system, causes your vascular system to actually dilate. It changes the blood flow patterns in your brain. It's incredible. It's so simple. So I thought I would lead us on a meditation, and I thought I would do something kind of different this time. I thought I would sing you a song. This is an old song, but I wrote this to soothe my anxiety when I was 16. I had the hardest time sleeping. That's when I started having my panic attacks, was at that age. And I had just started playing guitar, and I would sing this every night to help my system relax. So while you shut your eyes, Take deep, long breaths in your nose and out your mouth. Let's all do one together really quick. I want you to unlock your jaw. Our jaw is where we hold kind of the last vestiges of control. When we don't want to think something, hear something, we set our jaw and we quit breathing. So breathe in through your nose, unlock your jaw. And out your mouth. Let's do it again. Enjoy this song while you take long, deep breaths. Fly like a raven, black honey into the night. Soft like the ebony, it's warm and fluffy. Then I turn back home to bed and bring the dancing stars. Sleep and dream of a white wolf howling, and I know that I am you. Close your eyes, don't ask why, let's dream together, you and I. Close your eyes, we will fly, dreaming together, you and I. The moon I sail in a silver gown of stars. It's long, but not forever. Soon love will rise as mine and sing to the shadows. Now rise like a dove, and kiss the blooming star. I still as the wind and listen, for I will come to the footsteps of morning. Close your eyes, we can fly, dreaming together, you and I. Close your eyes, we'll fly, dreaming together, you and I. Dream. Slowly turn to your body. Focus on how relaxed and different you might feel. And carry this feeling the rest of your day.
I hope that you found that nice and relaxing. Oh my goodness, I've just discovered Jewel's lullabies And they're great to even do during class or at the end of a yoga session. And of course, before bed, anytime that you want to get relaxed. Thank you everyone for being with us today. I just want to spend our last few minutes, bring up my sheet here. I wanted to just share a few of the Coalition of Schools Educating Mindfully resources that we have. So this fall we launched our professional membership, and we had always planned on doing that. We launched 2.5 years ago, but with everything going virtually, even though our membership maybe wasn't quite where we wanted to have it before we launched, we went for it, and we have over 300 members now. Most are educators, like Delaware Department of Education just became a group member, meaning everybody in the state of Delaware can now become a member. So interested, they're kind of getting the word out there through their organization. Bannockburn School did, so it's a smaller school. And then we have big districts like U46, the second largest school district in Illinois, joined as a member. And we also have which is so important, I was so great to hear, University of Wisconsin Stout is a teacher preparation program, and they became members. So then as the teachers are learning how to become teachers, they're also learning about mindfulness. And I know Nito brought that up in a chat message to me, so I was excited to share that with her, because imagine how big of a change that would be if in teacher preparation programs that they were first taught how to self-regulate in mindfulness for themselves, and then be able to share that with students right away. But right now, our membership is mainly focused on educators, getting them, helping us be accountable to each other, to personally practice, growing that practice, our stamina. And we do things like self-care sessions each week. We have PD and mentorships events each month where we have experienced educators doing great things in their school. Then they come and share with us about it. Or else it might be a PD event where we would have like SELLA come and share more about their program. One thing we just added that's starting on Monday is Mindfulness Fundamental series, which is based on the MBSR format, but it has a teacher leading it. Actually, it's a social worker who's leading this first series. So many people have taken the MBSR courses before, but we think it'd be extra powerful for educators to be led in that work by another educator. And so we'll have those a few times a year, each time switching out who leads it. So you could take it a few times a year and it'd be a different experience each time. So we're always looking for new ideas from members for adding to our services. One thing we want to add in the next year as we get more group members, for instance, New York City Department of Education just joined as a member. So obviously that's could be huge. They have 1,800 schools. So as we get more members, we can, it's kind of like a co-op, we can add more benefits. So one thing we would like to do, a vision of ours for this next year, is start adding family events. So more events like this. So kids yoga, teen mindfulness classes, mindful parenting series, and such like that. So that's our vision as we grow. And I want to make sure to do another shout out about our book. We have a grant program where we use proceeds from our book. 40 educators wrote chapters. Lindsay Frank is here with us, who shared earlier. She wrote a chapter. Lori Grossman was here early, wrote a chapter. It's showing exactly what's happening in the United States with the emergence of mindfulness in education. So, it's a PE teacher from Alaska, wrote a chapter, an SEL coach from Illinois, principal from North Carolina, a school nurse. So we kind of, it's a great gift if you're thinking of a gift to give your school to do maybe a book study, or a parent can give that as a gift to their administrators to have them learn more about what it actually like looks like in schools, all the different ways people are integrating mindfulness. Make sure to subscribe at educatingmindfully.org to stay updated on our events. We like to pretty much, I like to know exactly what's going on, mindfulness and education everywhere, and to be sharing it out through that newsletter. So hearing that there's going to be an event the Wellness Experience is doing for educators this spring, I would then I'll share that out through our newsletter, which goes out to over 4,000 educators right now and is quickly growing. Does anybody have any questions in our last few minutes? Or anything they would like to share? Anything they forgot to share?
Big thank you. Gratitude. This has been wonderful, very inspiring. Loved having the opportunity to connect and look forward to other events that you'll be having. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity and thank you for all your hard work, Tracy.
Oh, thank you, Jamie.
Much love.
Let's give Tracy a round of applause and a big shout out.
And to the whole COSEM team, thank you all. Thank you.
Yeah, big shout out to our 14 board members who steer our organization, help design our events, each contributing in their own special ways. We do have, they do 3-year terms, so we can keep getting fresh ideas coming in. So always just, if you're ready to use your leadership skills in a new way, contact me and we onboard in June. But yeah, just stay posted and give me ideas. My job is to serve educators and school communities through our coalition, and that's where puzzle piece that I'm having so much fun with right now. And have a great day, everybody. Have a great week.